my mind is made up.
Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine.
And I'm David Levesque, editor of Latitudes and Attitudes, and welcome to Three Sheets, our podcast where we chill and chat with individuals making a difference in the cruising lifestyle.
Each episode, we'll dive into all things cruising related and bring you some of the most influential characters out there. So sit back, grab your favorite bottle, light them if you got them, and enjoy the adventure. Hey guys, this is Eric Kyle, publisher of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine. I'd like to welcome you to Three Sheets, our bi-weekly podcast, bringing you some of the most fun and exciting people from all around the world that are experiencing the cruising lifestyle and living at large. So today we've got some very, very special guests. First of all, I'd like to introduce Dietmar down in Panama, Panama Posse, South Pacific Posse and Atlantic Posse. How are you today, Dietmar?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Kyle. I can't wait to see you this fall again in Annapolis, and I'm so stoked that you're doing this. And David, thank you. Ever since I saw you last time in Annapolis, I said, you know, this year we're going to share some gems, and gems we got.
Well, speaking of David, I have the editor of Latitudes and Attitudes magazine on board here, the one and only David Levesque, and my co-host for this Three Sheets podcast. David, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great, my friend. Thank you so much. Dietmar is so full of energy and excitement. It's inspirational, isn't it?
We're gonna have to find a volume control for this man.
I just woke up from my nap. This is how I'm always right after my nap. I'm really on.
And Dietmar, you brought some special guests with us today. Why don't you go ahead and introduce Linda and Kurt?
Hey, there's Linda and Kurt. Linda and Kurt, they joined this year from the West Coast in Mexico. And they were part of the posse 22-23, made their way all the way down the coast, through the Panama Canal, up through Pirate Alley, and are now sitting lovely inside of a beautiful freshwater lake in Rio Dolce, would be my guess. Is that correct, Linda? Kurt?
Yeah,
that is right.
You nailed it.
Okay.
It was a lot of miles and a lot of adventure, but we made it.
We're here. We've made it.
We are so incredibly jealous. Love to have you guys aboard with us today. I appreciate it. Dietmar, if I could start with you today, just briefly, I'm kind of curious. First of all, how the hell do you pronounce your name?
Dietmar Petuchnik, but you can call me Captain Dietmar.
Captain Dietmar, that's what we're going to go with. Your last name is
eluded Petruchnik? Petruchnik?
Petuchnik.
Fine. Okay.
You know, I'm a good Austrian. We got long last names.
Well, in that same vein, I want to know the lineage of Panama Posse. I've known you, my friend, for a very long time. Never been able to pronounce your last name, but now I can. So 10, almost 15 years now, we've known each other. So tell us a little bit of the evolution of how Panama Posse came about and what in the world are you guys even doing?
Well, you know, we started, everything good starts in a bar in Mexico, and that's where the Panama Posse got started. This particular bar was a swim-up bar in Barra de Navidad, and about 15 boats were hanging around, you know, basically drinking margaritas, and everybody said, where's everybody going? And so I said, why don't we go down to Panama? And then, you know, a bunch of other boats were there, Nordhavens, power boats, sailboats, trimarans, catamarans, monohulls. He said, yeah, let's go down to Panama. And I opened my big mouth, because I have a big mouth, and I said, why don't we call it the Panama Posse? And Neil, who was, you know, sitting on his beautiful ketch, he says, yeah, sounds like a good idea, Dietmar, why don't you organize it? And that was it, you know, so
wow.
I opened my mouth, came up with a name, and next thing, we left with 15 boats, and originally it was a route that had little information. There were a couple of online guides, there were a couple of, you know, books that were 30 years old. Everything was written from one perspective. And the one thing that I liked from my entrepreneurial days, when I was in a room with other entrepreneurs, we established a protocol of talking to each other. And it was all about facts, not opinions, not, you know, this is what I think, but it was all about focusing on facts. And facts are, most people, you know, when you roll up, you want to know where the anchorage is, what the holding ground is, how to get ashore. And so we created this concept of the posse and sharing information, passing it forward, and in turn, making it easier for those who come after you, right? Mm-hmm. So we left with 15 boats. By the time we got to Panama, 7 months later, we had 78 boats that had signed up. Right.
Wow.
Well, the fee was right. It was free, and we gave you a free burgee, so it wasn't, the incentive was there. And then over time, we just focused on better quality, creating discounts with marinas, finding service providers, figuring out the ever-changing landscape of checking in and out of countries. Then we did that during COVID. We expanded. So we started with 7 marinas, and now it's 7 years in, and we have 75 marinas signed up between San Diego all the way up to Annapolis in 17 countries, right?
So there's like a lot of strength in numbers with you guys then, right? Pretty much.
We are one of the largest rallies in the world, and we focus on no schedules. This season we had 330 plus vessels, and the numbers looking good for next season to meet that number. And we spawned off because some of our participants left, and some of them went to the South Pacific. So we're 3 seasons into the South Pacific Posse. Again, we beat out the Ark, we beat out the puddle jump. We have 65 boats heading all the way to New Zealand, Fiji, and Australia. And this year we're going to start, I'm heading over to Europe to launch the Atlantic Posse to bring more Europeans to Central America and get them to go up to the Sea of Cortez. So that's our mission.
Let me get
Dude,
this
that's
straight.
excellent. And
I want to wrap my brain around this. Hang on to your question for a second, David. So you're talking about many boats all going to the same destination. Are they all going like in a convoy? Are they going? Help me to understand it.
If you imagine the U.S. fleet, right? The U.S. fleet has over 380 vessels, right? They're never in the same place. They're always in different parts of the world, but they all report in with information. Well, that's the same principle we apply, right? Everybody's going a different direction. Everybody has their own lifestyle. Some people like to see the parrots. Other people like to, run up a volcano and then, run it down on some skates. Anything that's adventurous is up to you. What you find, what you like, what you report back in and say, this is what I did. This is how I experienced it. This is how much it was. And that's what we want. We want real firsthand information from folks that do it, and they're doing it all over the world. In this case, for the Panama Posse, it's 17 countries, right? There's some people in Bahamas, some in Guatemala, some in Cuba, some in Colombia. They're all over the place, but everybody's part of the fleet. That's the concept.
Got it. So it's not like a bunch of boats are all going at the same time during this week to that week to this week, and you're all doing the same thing. You're all sharing the experiences that you've done.
Now, we do dangle parties up there. So every month or so, there's going to be a rum party, thanks to Flor de Caña, our favorite rum from Nicaragua, somewhere around the world.
Yeah.
Right? So at those parties, we typically get a pork roast. Everybody brings their own favorite dishes, which you will be judged upon. So this is not, bring you popcorn. You bring good, fine dishes to this. And then we're going to pour you some 12-year-old rum. And life's good.
Doesn't sound like it would suck at all. David, what is your question, sir?
Well, he kind of had me at pork roast and rum, but my wife makes a heck of I think it's called pernil, which is, yeah.
Is your wife Dominican?
No, she's Sicilian.
Ah.
But she's got quite the background of friends who are Dominican, and she makes a heck of a pernil. So Dietmar, I think we figured out how to say your last name, but I got to ask the question. What is up with that logo for Panama Posse?
You mean our howler monkey?
Oh yeah, man. The howl monkey. What's up with that?
So on the way down in Costa Rica, and Linda and Kurt will concur with me, there's an anchorage. When you drop the hook, the howler monkeys will scream at you. And the howler monkey is the loudest mammal on the planet above the surface of the water. You can hear him 3.5 miles through the densest of jungles. He's a little brown guy, maybe this big, so half human almost. He hangs with his posse they're called troops, but we call them posse. They hang literally in the jungles of Costa Rica. And when you drop the anchor, they yell at you. So
I think it sounds like you're describing yourself a little bit, Dietmar, but so
well, yes.
So, all right. So listen, you got into Panama Posse. You're hanging out in this place in Mexico, having some margaritas. People are like, hey, let's get going. Let's get cruising. How did you yourself get into cruising? Give us some of your background.
So, I want to focus more on Linda and Kurt because they're prettier than I am. I basically lived in New York City up until 2003 with my wife, and we were there during 9/11. And that changed our life. So we were left from New York City, moved to Vegas, which is where we still have our house, and decided to hang out, in open sky country. And it's then, that afternoon in 2003 that I developed a taste for banana milk. And I had a little rum. And then I went down to a magazine store. We still had magazines back then. And I bought, a sailing magazine, opened it up, and my mind went, bing, we got to get a boat. We got to get out of here. So by 2007, I was lucky enough to sell a company and basically rolled all the money into a brand new boat, learned how to sail, had to hire a captain because I couldn't get insurance without it. And we left, Suzanne and I and our dog, we left from San Diego in 2008 and sailed all the way to New Zealand and came back in 2015. So we spent 7.5 years in the South Pacific. I got my captain's license and my Yacht Master Ocean in the process. And when I came back, I realized there were a lot of rallies, but there wasn't really a rally that kind of like compensated for not having schedules. So we came up with the concept of the posse because the weather determines a whole lot when you're out on the ocean. And any rally that has fixed schedules creates a higher risk, in my opinion. And in my experience, when you have to leave in order to make some events. So I wanted to take that out. And so our big differentiation is we don't do hard schedules. We do some parties and we try to save you some money. That's the main thing.
So you mentioned that you were inspired by a magazine. That magazine wouldn't happen to be Latitudes and Attitudes, the #1 cruising lifestyle magazine for the last 26 years, would it?
It was one of my required readings back then. I had 7
very smart
magazines.
answer.
I had 7 magazines, a stack of them. And of course, Bob Bitchens, he always had a bow girl. So, it was part of my shopping, in the magazine store.
Okay.
So speaking of bow girls real quick, let's just switch real quick here over to Linda and Kurt. Okay.
Thank you.
And let's just introduce them a little bit, let them talk. So you guys are sailing La Vida Gypsea, right?
That's right.
That's us.
All right. So I have a bunch of questions for you later on in this little interview, but why don't you just go ahead and give us a little background on how you guys get into this whole mess, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, we ended up starting our adventure lifestyle in 2016. We had recently gotten married, and we decided we wanted to do something adventurous. Linda is an island girl. She's from the Dominican Republic originally, and we both liked the ocean. So we decided to take off from the U.S. and start a life down in Panama. So we moved to Bocas del Toro, to an island in Bocas del Toro, and lived in an off-grid home for 5 years.
Yeah.
And it was great. We loved living down there in Panama, but we had the itch to see more of the world, to continue the adventure. And after the pandemic with COVID, it kind of changed things for us as well, timeline wise. And we said, hey, let's go ahead and put this house up for sale and try to transition into the cruising lifestyle. So it wasn't as big of a jump as some people have, going from first world US into moving into a boat. We had taken that intermediate step of living in the jungle for a few years.
Yeah, we sold all our belongings and gave it all up to move to Panama first, and then we got the boat. Our story was a little different than everybody else.
Yeah, in 2021, we found La Vida Gypsea in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. It's a Katana 471 catamaran. And we purchased it in Puerto Vallarta, and then we sailed up and down the Mexico Pacific coast of Mexico, and then decided to make our way down to Panama, and that's where we got familiar with the Panama Posse, and we joined that last year to make our trek down here through the canal and now back up to Guatemala.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys this. How did you get involved with Panama Posse and all those guys? Did you just hear about them?
Me. I'm the admin. I do all the research. I find out the easiest. I like efficiency and being effective. I don't like to waste time. Like Dietmar said, I am that person that does a lot of research because I want to know where I'm going to anchor. I want to know where the grocery stores are. I want to know everything before I get somewhere. That's my personality. So I was looking online and trying to find something besides the Facebook forums that are full of nonsense, and trying to find something with a little bit more meat to it, and I found the Panama Posse, and then I threw the idea at him, and he said, sure, why not, let's join. So you're welcome. with me.
He couldn't say
Thank
no.
you.
Kurt couldn't say no at all, could you?
No.
All I do is get us from point A to B. She
Yes.
does all the hard lifting.
She's the brains and the beauty. Got it. Okay.
Right. That's
Understood.
So I gotta ask as well, who's Rigby?
Rigby might be hanging around. Let me see if I can find her.
Just
She's
whistle her.
she's
She'll
our
come.
mascot. Hey, Rigby.
She's
So
got
maybe
it.
while he's doing
She's
that,
coming.
Here we go.
Yeah, she
coming.
likes to find the cool areas of the boat.
For the
Here
record,
she-
I think Rigby's a dog.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rigby
it's
is
a
our,
kitty cat.
she's our golden retriever.
She's a little
Okay.
fat. Okay, there we go.
Here she goes.
Oh, there's Rigby.
This is
Hi,
the third.
buddy.
This is she breathes heavily just because she doesn't have any health issues. Just ignore the heavy panting. She's
If I had $1 for every time I heard that. Okay.
go on, go. All right.
So let me ask you guys, what's some of your favorite things to do while you live aboard? I mean, does it get boring where you're just simply out there sitting in a marina all day long? Do you go out sailing? Do you go to different destinations? Scuba diving, parasailing? What do you guys do
We
as
are hardly
hobbies?
ever in a marina,
Mhm.
by choice and by economic preference. We are usually anchored out most of the time. But when we do want to use a marina, we are very careful and we only stay there for whatever we need to get done, and then we drop the hook again. We're very
But our lifestyle isn't one where we're out doing a lot of adventuring all the time. We're actually, we're not retired and we're not living a retired life. So Linda actually teaches English online. And so she generally has a pretty full schedule during the day, teaching classes. And then we also have a YouTube channel. It's Sailing La Vida Gypsea. And so when we do adventure, we film that. And then in the downtime, I'm downstairs editing those videos. So a lot of the time we have typical Monday through Friday jobs where I'm editing videos, she's teaching classes. And then on the weekends, we do go out and have fun. We do like to scuba dive and snorkel and fish and sail and whatever, but we like to hike when we can. So we do get some adventures out there. We do enjoy the lifestyle, but it's not one where we're always playing and we're living a retired lifestyle like many of the cruisers are, but that's not in our case.
yeah.
Well, that's-
Is this a lifestyle for anybody? Can anybody who happens to like the water just simply go get a boat and go? Is it possible?
Yes.
I love the way you chimed in on that, Dietmar.
I
Go
will
ahead, go ahead and
say
take some time
yes.
to think about your answer, Dietmar. Go ahead.
That's a loaded question. Yes, it is possible, but you need to know what your comfort levels are and how much you are willing to push those comfort levels are. If you're an
Mhm.
adventurous person, and you love the ocean and you love adventures, there are many, many, many beautiful things about this lifestyle. But unfortunately, we have also met people who buy a boat on a whim and then they do one season and then they're out, right? Because they realize that they what is it, bit more than they can chew.
Bit off more than they
Yeah,
can
they
chew.
bit off more than they can chew.
But no, it's definitely
But
accessible
yeah,
and
it's
enjoyable for
Awesome
everyone.
and accessible.
You just
for
have to have the
most part.
right personality.
Right, yeah.
So what are some of the biggest challenges and roadblocks that you had to go through in order to be able to achieve the lifestyle that you're currently living?
Well, I think anybody will tell you if you buy a boat, you're going to it is a complex piece of machinery that you're living in, and you are completely reliant on the boat as your home, and so you are going to be doing maintenance. You're going to keep maintenance up. You're going to have things that happen that are unexpected that you're going to have to repair. And so the more handy you are, and the more do-it-yourselfer, I guess you are, the better off you're going to be. There's always people that you can pay and hire to do things, but oftentimes you're out in the middle of nowhere. You don't have contractors that you can have come on the boat, and you've got to take care of these things yourself. So being self-sufficient, being a do-it-yourselfer, being very handy is a plus. That's probably the biggest challenge. But you're not out there on your own in these with the groups like the Panama Posse or the Facebook groups, or just out there cruising. everybody is very friendly and everybody's willing to help. And there hasn't been an issue where we've come across yet where we had something happen that if I didn't know how to fix it or I didn't know what was going on, that we haven't been able to reach out to the community and get the advice and get answers that we need.
I was very active in the Panama Posse chat line, asking all sorts of questions, and I got a lot of answers. So
There's always answers.
there's
out there.
always an answer.
What a
Yeah,
fantastic resource.
And the other thing that even, let's say there's some folks that don't want to do everything themselves. With the Posse, you now actually get to filter out service providers. Because as you can imagine, you pull into one marina and there's going to be 2 or 3 engine mechanics. One's going to be good, one's going to be excellent, and one's going to destroy your engine. With us, we've already done that for you. We have 7 years of experience. So by simply being part of the group, you now tap into that resource and you reduce your risk, right? Reduce scope of ripoffs, reduce any kind of issues that you may have. You still have the issue, but at least now you have help and you kind of know what's coming to you. So you have ways to get out. You have outs, you have options, and you have ways in which to mitigate some of those challenges that we all face, right? It's like a collective brain.
Well, you talked about strength in numbers earlier. I mean, that's the community. We talk about community all the time with Lats and Ats, and you know, we're very closely aligned with the Young Cruisers Association and their mantras about community. And you know, to what you were alluding to earlier, Linda and Kurt, about you guys are both still gainfully employed and actively employed, but you don't have to wait till retirement to enjoy this lifestyle. But it does take a certain degree of intestinal fortitude, so to speak. I mean, you know, AAA is not going to come out to the middle of the Gulf somewhere or whatever, the ocean, to help you.
There's no
Home
Uber Eats
Depot's
when
not
I
going
don't
to
wanna
airlift
cook.
you. Home Depot's not going to airlift you some new electrical supplies, right?
Right.
Although that's a pretty good business idea.
Yeah.
Well, I think anybody who's realistically believing that this is something that they can do, they need to go through a few different filters. Are you handy? Are you adventurous? Are you willing to go through the rainy days, avoiding the storms, having to deal with the maintenance issues, go through all of those challenges in order to achieve the lifestyle that you guys are currently living, which is wonderful.
Or have plenty of money, right?
Yeah. Well, my mantra is always, I got a guy, but you can't get a guy out in the middle of the Atlantic. So
No, well, we can get one to you now. You with the Posse, that's the beauty of it. Because on the South Pacific Posse, a whole bunch of boats had issues, and guess what? There was a Posse boat that picked up the sailors after that vessel went down. You know, it was Rolling Stone.
I remember hearing about that.
yeah, I
So
remember. That's awesome.
There is a great network out here. The Panama Posse is a great start because it starts with coastal cruising, right? The most you'll do is maybe 100, 150 miles without stopping. You can literally gunk hole all the way, except for a couple of, you know, the bigger jumps that are just unavoidable due to weather or the geography of it. And so I think, you know, what Linda and Kurt certainly did was amazing. You know, they in 1 year did, you know, some people don't do it all in 1 year. Some people just go from one country to the next, you know, wait out the hurricane season, continue on. And I really love the way they communicated out. You know, they pushed themselves, they're doing it. And that's what we want to celebrate, right? Not the reasons why not to do it, but all the reasons why you want to do things like this. We sprinkle adventure dust all over you every day.
I can visualize that, Dietmar. That's a little disturbing.
What? I'm thinking about adventure dust. I'm thinking about adventure dust, and I'm thinking about rum is what I'm thinking about, Dietmar.
Well,
now
you know,
we did just so I can take a moment here. Nicole has joined us. Dietmar, why don't you introduce Nicole to our audience?
So Nicole has been with the Posse for a significant amount of time. She was part of our COVID bubble when we were stuck in Mexico, surrounded by 50,000 coconut plants and maybe 5,000 locals. Nicole is also the ingenious winner of last season's Boat Yoga Award, because we give big awards out with the Posse. So she had her feet sticking out of a refrigerator. Definitely won the prize. She also is in charge of welcoming new participants to the Panama Posse. She's basically our welcome ambassador going forward. And so as we're signing up folks this year, we have Zoom calls where Nicole will welcome them. So She's sitting on her boat in Maison de Sante with her dog and her husband in Costa Rica right now. That's Nicole for you.
Everybody say hi, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Nicole.
Hi. Sorry, I was having some technical difficulties earlier, so I think the internet was a little slow, but yeah, thanks for having me along today.
It's absolutely our pleasure. Nicole, tell us a little bit about how you got into the cruising lifestyle, what kind of boat you're on, and what adventures you guys are accustomed to.
Okay, well, we are on a 1974 Cal 246. So next year our boat's going to be 50 years old, which is really exciting, but it's in excellent condition. Essentially, my husband had been sailing since he was a little kid. And when I met him in 2009, he kind of introduced me into the sailing world. I've always enjoyed the water and anything ocean related. I grew up in Southern California, so you know, swimming, going to the beach, snorkeling, boogie boarding, you name it. So sailing just kind of fit nicely into what I was already in love with, so to speak, and opened a whole new dimension of opportunities to just explore beaches and other places in an incredible way. So.
Are you guys full-time live aboard sailors now then?
We are, yes. Yeah. Which is really exciting to be able to do that. So it's really nice that my husband can work remote and I get to be involved with the posse, meet amazing cruisers and other people along the way.
So is most of your traveling there on the Pacific coast on the US Mexico area?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah. So we left San Diego in 2019 and we spent a lot of time in Mexico, about 2 years, you know, working our way down the coast. And yeah, as of this season in November, we left San Diego again and made our way down to Costa Rica. We spent a little bit of time in Mexico, about 10 days in El Salvador, and we've been in Costa Rica for a little over 3 months. Recently extended our visa so we could stay here for an extra 6 months if we'd like to. So
I just want to jump in real quick because you're in Costa Rica right now, right?
yes.
So I'm going to bounce back to our great friends, our old friends here, Linda and Kurt, because I've been following your channel a little bit. Can you tell us about that time you got kicked out of Costa Rica?
Oh man, I better bring that stuff up, man. What?
Take notes, Nicole.
She's the operator, so she's in charge of
Yay,
checking in, checking out.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me that time.
We were just trying to get out of Costa Rica, making our way. We had, you know, a lot of miles to make to get to Guatemala, and we wanted to check out on a Friday and then leave. I believe we were trying to leave on the Saturday or Sunday. We knew the administrative offices weren't going to be open on the weekend, so
Nobody
we
works
went and
on
checked
the
out
weekends.
first thing on a Friday morning, expecting to leave that weekend. And they said, as soon as we checked out, they said, okay, you're out. Now you got to leave. You've got to, what, 2-3 hours before you've got to be out of here. And
Yeah,
we did not expect that. We did not see that coming. So I don't know if the guy was just in a bad mood
Yeah.
or what.
Yeah, because previously we were in where was that? Is it Golfito?
Golfito?
Yeah, Golfito. That's like the hub, right? To like get it out in and out of it. So other cruisers were like, yeah, we checked out, you know, on Wednesday, left on Friday, or we checked out Friday, went to the grocery store, left on Monday. So we were like, okay, cool, that's what we'll do. So here I go with my little binder with all my copies, feeling confident in myself. And the guy's like, are you leaving? When are you leaving? Today? Or, and I was like, oh, we're leaving tomorrow. And he says, no. And I was like, no. And it's like, you have to now. You have to leave within, if you're here, that means you're ready to go. You need to go. And I was like, wait, and he stamped my passport. And we were like,
Whoops.
You're out.
You got to be ready to pick up and go at a drop of a dime. So we did. So we ended up hitting a pretty rough rainstorm on the way out of there.
we got
But,
slammed.
and we had to sail overnight into Panama, which, you know, we
Yeah,
weren't
that
planning on an overnight
sucked,
passage, but
yeah.
you know, you got to do what you got to do.
Well, some of the full disclosure here, guys. David and I are both sailors. We're up here on Lake Erie. He's over in Buffalo on the east end. I'm in Lake Erie on the west end in Toledo. And I've been sailing about 20 years. David's probably been sailing about 5-10 years now, something like that. We're aspiring cruisers. We both want to be able to live the lifestyle. Nicole, you're living, Kurt and David, Dietmar, you have all kinds of experience with this as well. I would like to ask each one of you, what would inspire people that are hopeful cruisers? What part of your experience would you say, this is the moment that I knew I was doing the right thing by having this kind of life? Any one of you three, if you could help inspire David and I to go become cruisers by your experience, I would love to hear what that is.
Give 'em
Well,
something.
Nicole, I'd like Nicole to start. I'm just wondering if that experience, when you really knew, was that the moment that you were upside down in a refrigerator? What was going on there?
Well, there's always boat projects to be had, but I must say, there are worse things that can happen. And really, at the end of the day, it's what day is today? It's Tuesday, right? That's pretty awesome for me to lose track of what day of the week it is and not succumb to a rigorous schedule. I came from a background of working a 9-to-5 type job, and there's just so much structure. And I must say, being able to live this lifestyle allows for so much freedom and opportunity to meet incredible people, have amazing experiences. And it's something that I never thought I'd be able to do, to be completely honest, but things have fallen in line with us, my husband and I, and we just followed our passions, and obviously, financially look at things to make sure that this is something that we can continue to do as long as it makes us happy. So.
Love it.
Yeah, and this is a younger crowd, so there's a lot of people that are still working, but there's obviously retirees that are doing on their retirement. Some people are doing under Social Security. But the inspiration for me, right, when I said, okay, I can't really quite turn around anymore, once you start running a company, you'll become unemployable pretty fast. Then you add sailing on top of it, and now you're absolutely free. It's the last real free spirited activity you can do. 12 miles out, you're under international maritime law. There is nothing that can stop you, save, it's some warship. So I think that ultimate sense of freedom that you have out here. So imagine, Kyle, now with Starlink, with the new technologies, it makes it so much easier. Just shut down your office, move it onto the boat. You can do it remotely. You can fly anywhere in the world. You have to fly to most boat shows anyhow, which is what you do, right? And think of all the headaches that go away with a land operation. Now, some of us still have homes, but homeowners association, your neighbor, the dog that doesn't bark, all those things, you just move them to the boat. And if you don't like your neighborhood, if you don't like the weather, you just move 5 degrees on the autopilot. It gets you to a new country, guaranteed, right? Just keep sailing. It's the ultimate freedom that you have. And once you have that, once you're in that mindset, you can't go back. You're going to fight it. And people that go back to work to make money, guess what? Within 5-10 years, they go back out, because that's the last freedom we still have, right? And that's why it's so powerful. That's why it's such a draw for everybody. I don't care how young, how old you were. When you started reading those books, whether it's Moby Dick, or see the movies, your drive to get out there is unbearable. You have to get out there and do this, right? Because you can, and it's so much easier. The biggest wave when sailors really started going across the world was with GPS. GPS meant you no longer have to use a sextant, right? The next big wave is Starlink. Starlink is going to change the way people operate, because with COVID, we realized we can do a lot of work working remotely, right? Especially if it's jobs that don't require you to be physically in an office. So the second link, which is now Starlink, and obviously mobile phone and internet from anywhere, the game's up. There's no reason to sit in the city or, have the heater going in the winter in Buffalo, New York.
Hey, go easy on me.
So that is very inspiring, and I want to talk to you again about what you just said in a moment. But first, I'd love to hear from Linda and Kurt. What was that point of no return for you guys? What was that pinnacle of, yes, we're doing the right thing, and we want to continue to do this for as long as we can?
Do you have a moment of your pinnacle?
Well, for me, I really like the not only the sense of freedom, there is that sense of freedom, and then, you know, you also have just the gorgeous landscapes, the interactions with the wildlife that you're just not going to have anywhere else. You have those things, but for me, it's also a big sense of achievement, and because we put ourselves in these situations that can be challenging, can be dangerous, can just be adventurous, whatever it is. You know, when we take these leaps from one point to the next, there's always some sort of challenge that's involved in it. And once we get from point A to point B and we've done it and we drop that anchor, there's just that big sense of achievement. Like, wow, we did that.
Yeah,
You know,
we made it.
one of our big ones that we just did was like Dietmar said, we went through that pirate alley. That was it was over 1,000 miles we sailed from Boca del Toro, Panama, all the way up to Belize and Placencia, Belize. We had to make a big, wide, round turn around Nicaragua to stay away from the pirates. And that was a huge undertaking. It was nerve-wracking. We were up in the middle of the night several times thinking that we had pirates on our tail. And it was Panama Posse that actually gave us a lot of security there.
Yeah,
with,
they definitely
with
helped.
the Starlink, like Dietmar said, Starlink is a huge help, but we had connection in the middle of the ocean. We had connection with Dietmar. We had connection with the posse. We said, hey guys, we've got boats coming at us. We don't have any identification on these things. What do you think? They were able to look it up and see that they were shipping containers that, that were just looking suspicious. It gave us that sense of security while we were out there on the ocean. But I mean, when you do something like 1,000 miles sailing and you get to where you're going, that sense of accomplishment is really strong too. And it's just like, wow, that is awesome. I want to do it again.
Yeah, I have to. I think that was, we thought the same. I thought the same thing. It's that sense of achievement, right? Like when you're working in the corporate world and things, you have these goals and these, you know, set things that you need to do within, you know, the first 20 years of your life, within the first, you know, 30 years of your life. Out here, you know, you said it, like the things that we do, very oftentimes our lives literally depend on the decisions that we are making out here. And when they work and we're fine, we are like, yes, we did it. And it, for me, my turning point was when you fell overboard off the boat. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But he legit fell overboard. And I remembered my heave to. I did everything I needed to do and I got it back on the boat. And for me, that was I felt two things that day. I said, why the am I doing this? And then when I calmed down, I said, wow, I can't believe that I can do this. Like I felt confident in my skills. I felt confident in any achievement. And there's nothing that I did back in the States throughout my career that gave me that sense of like, I'm a freaking badass. On a boat, I feel like that a lot. It's
so
great.
Kurt, it sounds like she saved your life, so she's gonna hang that over your head for a while, right?
Forever.
She'll hang that over.
Yes.
Well, I'm curious, Nicole, if you can tell us maybe a little bit about what training you guys went through. You said that your husband had been a lifelong sailor. What kind of training did you go through in order to be able to jump aboard and go do what you guys are doing?
You know, I, to be totally honest, don't have any formal training except that, you know, I've been, you know, with my husband this whole time and he pretty much knows everything. And, you know, just along the way, you pick up skills and help and observe and learn, really. So that's really.
Please keep in mind, this is being recorded. So you just have it on record that you said your husband knows everything.
He will rewind play.
We can edit that out if you want to, Nicole.
Yeah, well, he's got a racing background and I'm not into the racing thing, but yeah, I'm into the more relaxed, let's hang out, let's sail, but it's always nice to be able to get someplace faster for sure. But in adding on to, you know, what Dietmar and Vida Gypsea said too, with regards to, I guess, inspiration, I would say a lot of times it's fear that holds people back. And a lot of people make excuses of, well, I can't do this because of this responsibility or that responsibility. But at the end of the day, you know what, for the most part, what tomorrow is going to look like, maybe what the next year is going to look like, right? Maybe the next 5 years. That's kind of what we were dealing with, where we were at place in our career where we were really high up, and are you just going to do the same thing for 20 years, retire, and then hopefully you have the physical and mental capacity to be able to sail and do incredible things? So you could always go back to the life in which you knew on land, but taking the leap and going sailing, find me someone who has really regretted that decision unless something really traumatic has happened. But for the most part, I would say 99% of people, they just would never look back.
But there are a lot of excuses that people give themselves. I'm not trained. I don't know this. I don't know that. I don't know the organizations get involved with. I don't know enough about sailing. I may just be a day sailor and aspire to go cruising, but I don't know what the next steps are. It sounds like Panama Posse can help with that. And one other thing that I did want to add in there, while we've got a couple of minutes here, Dietmar, you both, a couple of you guys had mentioned Starlink. Just a couple of weeks ago, we were watching a video where somebody said that there was now going to be a huge expense for Starlink because it wasn't meant for cruising sailors to be out there using it. It was meant for people who are out in rural countryside to be able to connect with it. Has something changed with Starlink, or is it just as easily accessible and affordable as it was last year?
You know, I just got my Starlink down here in Panama, and different countries have different plans. There is an ocean plan. So when you're actually moving across oceans where they're jacking up the rates a little bit, and I certainly understand why, because they launched a marine product. So they'll cap your data usage at around 50 gigs, I believe. But whether that's here or there, it's, you know, even if you charge $250 for you to be out there and about, for you to be able to do that, I consider this rent, like office rent, right? For you to have internet, you're going to spend in the US as little as 20 and probably up to 80 in order to have it. So it's a little bit more, but the freedom that you have and the ability to sit in beautiful anchorages or in great spots, you know, it makes it a worthwhile investment, because we couldn't be doing this 10 years ago.
You know what, forget about the anchorages and all that, because that's important. But what Linda and Kurt were saying a bit ago, just, you know, wondering, being able to talk to other posse members and find out, you know, are these pirates that are on our ass, or is this, you know, what is this? You know what I mean? And hell, I'd pay 2,500 for that kind of security or more, let alone 250.
That upcharge kicked in like right before that passage, and we were like, we don't care what it's going to cost. Like, we need to.
That's the only time we really had to use the priority. As long as you're around the coast, and the coverage kind of takes into account all the anchorages. The only time we had to actually flip over to the more expensive data was when we were 200 miles offshore and, you know, and heading out there. But like you said, then it was invaluable. I was going to pay whatever I needed.
I was.
So it hasn't been cost prohibitive for us right now. It's still good. I know that they're still probably making changes and with their plans, but so far it's been great.
You know what, Dietmar, you talked about you know, several times in this discussion, you talked about the strength in numbers and whatever. I wonder if Panama Posse, with all the numbers you guys have, if you can arrange some kind of a group buy, you know, with Starlink, maybe something like that.
I'm always on the phone with marinas. You know, everybody that's part of the posse, they get a West Marine Pro discount. I'm hitting up Defender. My goal is to basically get deals, right? Along the coast, there's long lines. So now we have a discount for these line cutters that you can put around your shaft. You get 30% off. So when we find problems, we find solutions, and then we try to save you money. The problem that I have is that the decision makers in Starlink don't want to be found. So you give me a name, you give me a phone number, you give me a place, I'll knock on their door. Yeah, but
Elon Musk.
No. Okay, we got one. Now I need two more, right? I need to meet him, or I need to have his phone number, right? And the good news is, it's the first system, because, you know, Amazon's coming out with something, and once Amazon comes out with it, some other company's going to come out with it. So there will be a neutralizing aspect of it, which means once competition arrives. But right now, yeah, I'm happy with it. But we all have electronics that we've thrown out over the ages, right? I literally this week just took down my single sideband antenna with the long stick. Now I still have the single sideband, but I'm going to run a wire and no longer have the big stick standing out. So in case I need it. So we have technology that becomes obsolete, but so does everything else, right? I mean, but the real question is Eric, when are you going to get on a boat, man? Come on. When are you going to get out here?
Come on, brother. Give me a little bit of time. I'm trying to run a magazine here.
Okay. You
So-
can run it from a boat.
I know,
make it-
I know. Here, let's talk more. So this is really, guys, this is kind of what we're talking about. This is
Right.
what are the barriers to entry to enjoy this lifestyle, to be able to be affiliated and connected with an organization like Panama Posse, who will help you every step along the way, save you money, connect you to boaters, give you the information, data that you need to be able to make your cruising lifestyle actually happen. And whether
And
it's in the
free
South,
rum. And
free-
free rum.
sign me up. So whether you're in the South Pacific or going up and down the West Coast of North America, or going to be going over to the Atlantic, we've got a real solution here. And really what our hope is in this podcast is to break down those barriers to entries. Obviously GPS did that, 15, 20 years ago. Now we've got Starlink out there. We know people of all kinds of ages and demographics are getting involved in this lifestyle. Everybody who is doing it, doesn't sound like anybody's regretting it at all. You can work full time. There are people out there raising kids. They have their pets aboard. This is a lifestyle that is absolutely glorious and will become much more bountiful as time goes on. And we're truly grateful to know that there's organizations out there like Dietmar's Panama Posse that help, again, break down those barriers and get people fully engaged in this lifestyle. So personally, I'd like to thank you guys all and maybe ask for some final comments. We'll start with Nicole and work our way over. Anything else that you'd like to say about this lifestyle that you're living?
I mean, it's absolutely incredible. And I must say too, with the Panama Posse, I've just met such incredible people, like-minded people. I'm so grateful for you, Dietmar, and everybody who's been in this group and more along the way. I'm just, like I said, I'm sorry, I'm just very, very grateful. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Dietmar, any final thoughts about Panama Posse and or
First of all,
some things you're doing?
Make sure you watch their channel. It's really fun. It's really good. It's La Vida Gypsea. They're on YouTube. They're really inspirational. And then definitely once you sign up, you get to meet Nicole down here. We will be accessible. Obviously, if you send us an email, we'll do some onboarding. It's not expensive to join. It usually pays for itself. We just did a survey. Average vessel saves around $1,475 a season. We charge about $300 to join, so it's fairly reasonable. But the most important thing is that you actually get out here. And the people that you will meet, the diversity that you will meet. We have people participating from 27 countries. About 70% are US vessels. The rest is from all over the world. And you'll have a really good time. You'll do bonfires on the beach. Right now, we're running our recruitment effort with 99 reasons you should join the Panama Posse. So look at that on Facebook. We're every day I publish 3 ideas of why you should join the posse. And not all of them are financial, just, amazing sunsets, cuddling with wildlife. I mean, it's just such a great opportunity for folks to get out here. We don't tell you what to do. We give you better information so you can make better decisions. And that's the way we run this, right? Because most people on boats, they're pretty smart. They figured it out. So we want to do this. So, but talk to these guys. These guys are smart. They made it to Guatemala.
Okay, well, let's move on then to Kurt and Linda. Please give us some of your final thoughts about what it is that you want to inspire people to go out and live this life.
Get out of the rat. That's the one of the situations that we even did our YouTube channel was to try to create our own community of like-minded people who were in a similar situation and inspire them as they watch us fall on our faces. Do what we do, find people that have the same similarities and can relate to us, to want to get out there and explore. We've always had an adventurous spirit, but the Panama Posse, for me at least, because we are not retired, because we are working, and because we do like to move a lot, it was hard for us at first to find a community of people. We were always, a day behind a season. So when everybody would be going north, we would be going the other way or vice versa. And there was nothing for us to kind of refer to and try to find people in an area to make friends and to have this fantastic cruising community. We always missed it by a minute, and we were in lots of lonely anchorages, and it was nice at first, and then it got pretty sad because we had no friends. But then when we joined the Panama Posse, you know, and if you join, you'll see, I mean, it's a group, there's messages, you have access to not predict when, but the other one that lets you see where everybody is. I don't remember. Yeah, like on you can see there's like features and things like that that let you see like who's at what anchorage. And then you message this group, and then like Dietmar says, they have get-togethers, they have potlucks, they have things. So we would get excited, more excited already that we were going to this new area, but we knew there were going to be people in a community that we already had something in common with, the posse, and that allowed us to. We made a lot of really great friends throughout the Panama Posse, our experience. So that for me was important. I don't know.
Yeah,
about
you're gonna see all kinds of people out here, all different budgets, all different types of boats, age groups, you know, backgrounds. So there's a large community out here. You'll find somebody that you connect with. So get on out here and start sailing.
Yeah, just get out there and do it before it's too late.
There's room in the anchorage.
There's room in the anchorage, but not too
So-
close to me.
So Eric, so you're gonna buy a boat. I assume it's gonna be a catamaran. One side's gonna be your office. You're gonna have your publishing side. You know, you're gonna have your editors. You're gonna have, you know, your photo studio on board. Yeah, I can see it. It's gonna happen.
Okay,
It's
I
gonna
share.
happen.
I share your vision. I share your inspiration from one and all. I am truly grateful that we had an opportunity to chat today about what does it for you guys, what makes it happen for you guys, to learn more about the Panama Posse, to learn more about your YouTube channel, to learn more about what's going on with just simply getting out there and enjoying the lifestyle. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming aboard today. We really appreciate it. And we'll make sure to put some links below this podcast so that people can get directly in touch with you guys and learn more and go experience the life of their dreams.
Great. Thank you, Eric, so much. Thank you, David. Nicole, thank you. Thanks, Linda and Kurt. And to all of our dogs who are quietly waiting for us to go take them for a walk. We'll be right there.
That's the alarm to do that, actually.
My mind is made up. I'm gonna sail away. Latitudes and attitudes will help me find my way with my loving cup. A little salt and a